Hey everybody, it's Frank from 5 AM Ramen here. I am in Akasaka, a very upscale neighborhood in Tokyo with plenty of hills. Today I'm revealing Akasaka's top-ranked ramen restaurant and one of my personal favorites in Tokyo. I'll be highlighting two of their top ramen. The first one is a savory shoyu or soy sauce based flying fish ramen, and the second one is a shio or salt based creamy and thick tori python. We're gonna watch them prepare two of these ramen in the kitchen too, and we have this ramen shop all to ourselves. Let's go.
For those of you new to 5 AM Ramen, this channel is all about top-notch ramen in Japan. You'll not only get the best ramen recommendations, but also learn all about this magical noodle dish along the way. So, back to Tokyo's Akasaka neighborhood. It's a strange mix. Super upscale around Akasaka Station with fancy residences on the hills, and a bit more rugged for Tokyo standards around Akasaka Mitsuke Station. Akasaka is a unique neighborhood, and the ramen shop we're visiting is the #1 ranked ramen shop there. It's appropriately called Akasaka Mendokoro Tomo, or Tomo for short. It's also open until 4 AM. Not 5 AM, but close enough. I'm almost there now. And I have arrived. Here's the ticket machine, easy to understand with photos and English. From the 3 ramen types on the 3 rows here, I'm going for the top row and the last row ramen, both with all toppings. Top row is the shoyu or soy sauce ramen. Bottom row is the salt-based chicken ramen. But there's a lot more happening in these 2 ramen than just the seasoning. First up is the shoyu ramen. Here are the kind staff at Tomo preparing it for us. Seasoning, soup, noodles, and toppings. And it's ready.
お待たせいたしました。芳醇あごだし醤油ラーメンの特製でございます。
Alright, so I just got their Tokusei Hojun Agodashi Shoyu Ramen. And this is their staple. It is friggin' delicious. I'm gonna start with the soup here. Oh. The ingredients include grilled flying fish or tobio from Kagoshima, which is the southern tip of Japan. They also include niboshi or dried sardines, kelp or ma kombu from Hokkaido, and it's also a pork bone base or tonkotsu base. And this is held up by a shoyu or soy sauce. So when you sip into the soup, you get that nice creaminess that's there from the pork bones, but there's a nice like undercurrent from that flying fish. Hojun means like mellow or kind of gentle. I think that's a very appropriate way to describe this ramen. Now the noodles are fairly thick, and that goes well with the fairly thick broth. Let's dive in. So since I got all toppings, these are what that includes. We've got really thick menma for nice crunch. Also mizuna vegetable for a little bit of freshness and crunch alongside that. And we got 5 sheets of seaweed. The chashu pork is supremely fatty and it just falls apart in the broth. Amazing. So for the final touch, I'm gonna add the ryu chili oil. Let's toss that in. They make this in-house, and I think it's a brilliant addition to the broth. When you add that in, the fish and the creaminess, they take a little bit of the back seat, but it works so well. It's like supercharged with that ryu chili oil. And it just adds the right amount of spice. Now I've just broken up the egg, and I'm gonna be adding onto that pork bone creaminess a little bit of dairy. Excellent eggs, or I should say excellent. Please keep watching. Now I've made a mess, but it's a wonderful mess. Again, just when everything comes together, I've got the seaweed floating around in there, adding reminders of the sea. And with the flying fish, again, that accent is always there, but doesn't overpower, it doesn't take over the bowl. And that pork bone creaminess too is steering the bowl alongside that soy sauce seasoning. And I think it's also balanced in terms of the way that it is a little bit in your face, but it's also very mellow. It's mild and intense at the same time, if that makes sense. Delicious and my go-to at this ramen shop, Tomo. Now we're gonna be switching gears and I'm gonna be ordering their Tokusei Noko Torishio Ramen, which is basically a thick and creamy rich chicken ramen, and for some people this is their go-to. But before that, a quick note. Tomo has also been selling their ramen online in frozen form. With more people working from home and less people out and about, Tomo can send their ramen to the masses. This is what the same flying fish shoyu ramen looks like when I assembled it at home. Those signature flavors I went on about are of course present in every bite. Okay, back to the salt-seasoned chicken ramen. They're getting this one ready right now. Seasoning, soup, noodles, and toppings.
And it's ready to
お
be
待たせい
eaten.
たしました。濃厚鶏塩ラーメンでございます。
So round two, I have their Tokusei Noko Tori Shio Ramen. So Tokusei is all toppings, Noko is rich, Tori is chicken, and Shio is salt. So basically a rich, thick and creamy tori paitan like chicken ramen that's held up by a shio or salt seasoning. Now the ingredients include chicken from Kyushu. We've also got the same makombu or kelp, definitely going in a richer direction than the previous one. I was speaking to the shop manager right now, and Tomo is open until 4 AM. And as you might expect, this one is a big hit after midnight. Now, I personally like it when my tori paitan or creamy chicken ramen has a stronger shio or salt seasoning. That saltiness really shines through here, almost like it's supercharging the broth. Now, the broth is definitely full of a rich flavor, but it's also got this like smoothness to it. It's rich, but it's like a smooth chicken river, I guess you could say. I don't know what kind of image that brings up of a river, you know, chicken kind of floating about in it. We got the same beautiful noodles here. Let's dig in. Now, toppings-wise, they made sure the chicken stands out. We've got chicken chashu instead of the pork chashu, and also chicken meatballs. So chicken all the way. Who doesn't like chicken meatballs? We've got the 5 sheets of seaweed again. And in this one, there's more green negi, which provides some freshness, and it cuts through that rich broth a little bit. And also kaiware sprouts. Just like with the last one, how they give you a ryu chili oil to kind of transform the taste of the broth. Here in this creamy chicken one, it is wasabi. It smells awesome. So I just added the wasabi to the broth, and I'm gonna have a sip of it again. Now the broth is very creamy, and that doesn't change, but I like how the wasabi just kind of politely disrupts the broth. It also kind of offsets that intensity. The chicken chashu is seasoned well with pepper, and that pepper kind of provides a nice contrast with that rich broth. I just broke the egg dam, and yeah, double creaminess now. Between the two, which would you rather eat? Let me know in the comments below. For me, my go-to is still the agodashi ramen or the flying fish ramen, but back in the day, if I would be out late, you know, maybe drinking, I think this would be my go-to.
For reference, this one they're selling online too, and this is what it looks like. So good. One dish I didn't order today was the skemen, or the dipping ramen. This one's in the middle of the ticket machine here. It's also fantastic, rich and a bit sweet. Here's the at-home version of it. Besides Tomo, here are 2 more ramen shop recommendations in Akasaka. Number 1, Akasaka Ittenbari. Their most popular ramen is a miso and soy sauce blend. It's a salty miso ramen with Kyoto and Hokkaido miso as the base. Number 2, Kisurin. Kisurin does soupless tantan men and tantan men with soup, on the spicier side. The breaded pork topping is a must order here. These 2 ramen shops are awesome, but my heart lies with Akasaka Mendokoro Tomo.
So I'm now in the hills, the higher level area where the nobles used to live. I'm not a noble, I just want some exercise. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, please smash that like button. This is Frank from 5 AM Ramen reminding you that Tokyo is the only city where you can have amazing ramen at 5 AM. Or in the case of Tomo, you can have amazing ramen at 4 AM. Thank you for joining.